Okay, good morning, everybody, or afternoon. So this is your bell work. These definitions, if you're having trouble reading them, are also down on page 140. So what I want you to do is I want you to copy these down into your notes. I want you to go to page 142 in your book, and there are 4 different types of angles that are described there. I want you to copy down those definitions, and I think it's on page 141 is the definition of transversal. So I want all of those down in your notes. Go ahead and take about 6-7 minutes to do that. Substitute, just go ahead and whenever everyone's done, just ask after about 5 minutes, see who's done, and then we'll move forward. Okay, so these are parallel lines, and how when we see parallel lines, they are coplanar. Now, I underlined that in the definition, back there, coplanar. Coplanar, so parallel lines are lines that do not intersect ever. And the symbol we use for that are those 2 kind of slanted lines next to each other. So I'm looking right here, and it says A is parallel to B. Then we go line A is parallel to line B. That's how we read that. So when we're looking here, how we mark the lines is we put little arrows on them, and those means that those 2 lines are parallel. They're in the same plane. Again, a plane, think about it like the top of a box, the side of a box, so on and so forth. So it's a plane. And if they don't touch and are in the same plane, they are parallel. Okay? So now we get to what are called skew lines. And skew lines are something that a lot of people have difficulty with. So let's go over that. If we have a box here, okay, then those 2 red lines, those are going to be the top corners of the box. Those are going to be parallel. Because the reason they don't touch is because they're parallel. They are in the same plane and they don't touch. Now, those front corners, those 2 pink lines, those are also going to be parallel to each other. But notice that we have this pink line and this red line. Now, those don't touch, but the reason they don't touch is that they're not in the same plane. Okay? Think about like an overpass. When you're driving down the freeway on the way to Phoenix and there's an overpass. The 2 lanes, north and south, those would be parallel. They don't touch because they're specifically meant not to touch. And they're in the same plane. The overpass, or in this case, the corners of the boxes, those aren't going to touch because they're not in the same plane. If I were to shift that one over to the left, as you can see, they would actually intersect right there. So those would be, so when they don't intersect because they're not in the same plane, they're called skew. When they don't intersect because they'll never intersect, they're called parallel. So let's look. So we have that top left line, the one that we just circled. Now, if I went with this line right here, that dark green one, that would be parallel with this line. So those 2 lines right there, those would be parallel because there's that diagonal plane. So the reason they're never going to touch, not because they are in different planes, but they're not going to touch because they're parallel. So parallel planes, that's the final one. I like to think about this as like the walls of the classroom. So the wall on your left and the wall on your right, they aren't going to touch. They could go on forever all around the earth and they'd never run into each other, assuming that they're parallel. So if we look back at the box, on any box, you're going to have 3 sets of parallel planes, left, right, top, bottom, front, back. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So what I want you guys to do now, take a couple minutes, copy this down. So hit pause on the video, make sure everyone gets this copied down. I have all my kids use C notes, and so what I have is, so I do all my notes on the C notes, so hopefully that helps. Anyway, hit pause, copy it down. Okay, and we're back. So here we have 2 lines, M and N. Okay, and then we have a transversal, T. And the transversal is the line which intersects both of the others at distinct points. Now, what I mean by distinct points is that they don't all intersect at the same point, okay? So, if you have 3 lines, like down here, that all intersect at the same point, we can't call any of those 3 a transversal. However, here, where we have 2 distinct intersections between the lines, T is the transversal of M and N. Now, in later parts, we're going to be dealing with parallel lines. Right now, we just want to be able to identify the angle pairs. Okay, so first things first. So, the interior and the exterior of the diagram. The interior, I have the interior angles in purple and the exterior angles in blue. So the interior is in between the 2 lines, and the exterior is outside of the 2 lines. Okay, so what I want you guys to do now is we have lines M and N, transversal T. So that's the interior in between the 2 lines, and that's the exterior. So what I want you to do is write down all the interior angles. That's between 2 lines. The exterior is outside of 2 lines. So 3, angle 4, angle 5, and angle 6 are all interior angles. 1, 2, 7, 8 are all exterior angles. Okay, so make sure this is all in your notes, and then we'll move on. So this is the same drawing, but now I want to start talking about the angle pairs. So you don't need to actually redo the drawing if you already have it in your notes. But alternate interior angles. So I want you to look back at your definition for alternate interior angles, okay? So alternate interior angles are angles which are on the... So interior angles which are on opposite side of the transversal. So again, when we're looking at the transversal, we look at T. So if we start off with angle 3, so we know it's an interior angle. So we have, so we have 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so the first thing we might want to do is look at number 4, because 4 is on the opposite side of the transversal. But let's look back at the definition, and notice that it says non-adjacent. So adjacent means next to. So if you ever see, we're talking about adjacent angles. We're talking about two angles that are next to each other. Everyone take a quick second, turn to your study buddy, that's the person sitting next to you, and say hello to the adjacent student. Now seriously, turn and say hello to the adjacent student. Hopefully that'll help you remember the word adjacent. So the first thing about the definition here is that it is non-adjacent. So we know that it's an interior angle, so the alternate interior pair to number 3 has to be 4, 5, or 6, because those are the purple angles. So it can't be 4, however, because 4 is adjacent. And then, so let's look at 5. Well, 5 is on the same side. So it can't be 5. So we have 6. So, really quickly, with your study buddy, take about 45 seconds and come up with the other alternate interior angle pair. Go ahead, pause it, give them 45 seconds, and then come back. So you guys should have seen that the other interior angle pair were angle 5 and angle 4. Again, non-adjacent, that means they're not right next to each other. Interior angles on opposite sides of the transversal. So let's look at same side interior angles. So we have number 3. And I want you to look at number 3 and go, okay, well, same side interior. So let's look at the definition. The definition says interior angles on the same side of the transversal. Well, the only one on the same side of the transversal is number 5. So then the other pair is going to be 4 and 6. So those are same side interior angles. And that brings us to alternate interior or exterior angles. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to take about 3 minutes. So hit pause. And for about 3 minutes, I want you guys to come up with what the 2 alternate exterior angle pairs are. So there are 2 of them. They gotta be blue. And what I want you to do is I want you to look at the definitions and use the definitions just the same way as we use the definitions to find out what the alternate interior pairs and the same side interior pairs were. So we're back. So hopefully, so keep in mind we are looking at alternate exterior angles. So again, let's look at that. So we have non-adjacent exterior angles on opposite sides of the transversal. So that's the gist of the definition. So if we start off with angle 1, that's this angle right there. Angle 1. Then we look at, so again, non-adjacent. So it can't be angle 2 because angle 2 is right next to it. So then really what we're looking at is it 7 or is it 8? And when we look at the rest of the definition, it's got to be 7 or 8 because we're dealing with the blue angles here. We're dealing with those exterior angles. So the only one that's on the opposite side of the transversal is number 8. So that means then that 2 and 7 are the other pair. Make sure you have all this down. Make sure you understand it. We're going to go into corresponding angles, which can get a little tricky. So what I would suggest you do is, after you make sure you have this down, go ahead and draw another set of these angles. And we'll go from there. Let's look at the definition of corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are angles which are on the same side of the transversal and in corresponding positions. So when we're doing this, it bears to remember that whenever we're talking about these angle pairs, whether it is, let's look back here, alternate interior angles, same side interior angles, or alternate exterior angles, that we're taking one from each of the group of intersections. Okay? So we already have names for like these pairs right here, 1 and 4, those are vertical angles. 1 and 2 are a linear pair, they're supplementary. Same thing with 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 3 and 4. So all the ones in each kind of intersection we have names for. So these new names, alternate interior angles, same side interior angles, alternate exterior angles, and corresponding angles. What we're doing is we're relating the groupings of the intersections. So one from the top intersection, one from the bottom intersection. So corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are same side of the transversal. And so just so you guys know, same side, we're talking about left or right, and in similar positions. So if I were to label the positions of the intersection, I like to go top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. Okay? So if I want to say what is the corresponding angle to number 1, I'm going to look down here at this intersection, because remember, I have to take one from each group. And I'm going to go, well, number 1 is corresponding to number 5. Because see how number 1 is the top left angle? Well, number 5 is also the top left angle. So what I want you to do, take a really quick minute and fill in the other 3 corresponding pairs. So you should have 4 total. Okay, so hopefully you guys hit pause, fill them in. The other 3, so what I like to do is fill them in, top left, bottom right. And then 2 and 6, because those are both the top rights. 3 and 7, those are your bottom lefts. And 4 and 8, those are your bottom rights. Okay, so make sure you have this down. And this is important to realize that only on the same transversal, okay? I spelled transversal wrong. Let me go fix that. Okay, only on the same transversal. So if you're not on the same transversal, if you don't have 2 lines crossed by the same transversal, none of these pairs match up. So this is what I want you to do next. Okay, so again, take like 2 minutes, copy this down, and then what you're going to do when I tell you to is you're going to write down so here you have 2 sets of lines crossed by transversals, letters and numbers. But before we start, I want you to tell me what the relationship between angle 1 and angle C are. I want you to talk about this with yours, so I want to know the relationship between angle 1 and angle C. And I want you to go ahead and take about 3 minutes discussing this with your study buddy. So hit pause, 3 minutes later, come back, and we'll go over it. So, a little bit of a trick question. There is no relationship between 1 and C. Remember back here where I said only on the same transversal? Well, if we look back here, 1 and C do not share any lines. Okay, even if these 2 lines were continued right there, notice that the 2 lines for number 1 are here and here, transversal there. Now we have those same, even if I hadn't broken apart that part in the middle, even if we had those same 2 lines right there, it's a different transversal. So because 1 and C lie on different transversals, they are not the same. So this is what I want you to do. Okay? I want you to now write down all the pairs of alternate interior angles. I'll give you a little hint. All the pairs of alternate interior angles. So there are going to be 4 pairs. Okay? 2 numbers, 2 letters. All 4 pairs of alternate exterior angles. All 4 pairs of same side interior angles. And all 8 pairs of corresponding angles. Okay, so go for it. So take about 6-7 minutes on this. We should be darn near to the end of class. So this might take you till the end of class, and that's fine. Okay, so everybody, homework, page 144, 11 to 42. It may seem like a lot of problems, and you might get stuck here and there, and that's okay. But I do want you to try it. If you go to my YouTube channel, there is a video on this. And so you can watch it, and I think I do all the odds or something like that. I do about half the problems. So you can go on to YouTube, watch the video, figure out how they work, and then use that knowledge to figure out the rest of them. Hope this worked today. Again, if you have any suggestions for how I can make this easier for you guys, please let me know. I am absolutely 100% open to suggestions. I am working on my handwriting, so hopefully that will improve. And so if you finish this naming all the alternate interior angle pairs, alternate exterior pairs, same side interior pairs, corresponding pairs, it's going to be, we'll go over the answers to that in a little bit. If you finish that early, that's the assignment. So, alternate interior angle pairs. So, alternate interior pairs are going to be 3, 6, 5, 4, and then E, angle D, angle F, angle C. Alternate exterior. Again, we're going to have 4 of them. Angle 1, angle 8, angle 2, angle 7, angle A, angle I, angle B, angle H. Okay, so I know that I skipped a G, but I really just wanted to be able to write high down there. Okay. Same side interior. Three, 5, 4, 6, E, C, and F, and D. Finally, corresponding. Now keep in mind we've got 8 of these. So we have 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7, and 4, 8. Over on the letters we have A, C, B, D, E, H, and F, and I. Give me just a second, fix that. Angle H, and then angle I. Okay, thank you guys all very much.